I didn't hardly make it through one corner before tearing my car up. Definitely an interesting start to our 2025 season. This last Saturday was the second running of the Justin Owen Memorial Race, and it was opening night for us. The Saturday prior was supposed to be opening night, but we got rained out, so this ended up being the first race of the season for us. As I mentioned in the last update video that I made, we were very behind with the work that needed to be done to these cars before practice even started. And the same situation was there when we went into this first race. I had just got Alex's car back together with the different transmission gear ratios and the bigger tire setup to mitigate the push that the car had last season and in practice. And that did make a huge, huge difference. My car, there's so much that I still need to get done on it. And I kind of paid the price because of that, because the car really started acting up about halfway through the feature. But I'll get into that in a little bit here. Saturday morning, we went to load the cars up to head to the track and pulled Alex's car up into the front yard and dropped the ramps on a trailer. And just before we were going to pull it up onto the ramps, his left front axle came apart. And it ended up popping out of the cup at the transmission side of things. So the three bearing joint in there pulled completely out. It was still in the boot, and we heard it all come apart. So we limped it back into the shop here and went to knock the bolts out of the strut so that we could change this axle out. And this whole thing was just in a bind because the axle was basically longer at that point, because this joint just would not seat back into the cup. And no matter what we did, we couldn't get it to go. And I hammered on them bolts trying to knock them out of the struts. It just wasn't happening. We slot the struts for camber, and on that left front, you're slotting for positive camber. So the upper bolt is outward on the strut. And we end up welding a washer in place because you kind of remove a lot of material from the strut to get all that camber. And those washers fit pretty snug around those strut bolts. And because this was in such a pinch, it basically made everything a Chinese finger trap. It just would not budge. So in a pinch, because we were running late already to get to the track, I just grabbed the plasma cutter and chopped the axle in half just to get the thing apart so we could slap a new axle into it. And I mean, it worked out. We got to the track, but I'm believing that the axle that was in his car from the last transmission was too short for the new setup here, because I used a different case for the transmission and ended up finding an axle that was a little bit longer that fit in there. So obviously it lasted that whole race, but that was kind of crummy to have to deal with that as we were about to leave for the track. But got him loaded and we got to the track. When we got there, I drew a 71 and Alex drew a 74. But the track does qualifiers and heats different this year. Alex and I drew those real high numbers, and we both qualified in group number 3. But Alex ended up getting shuffled to the first heat, and he actually started outside front row for that heat. And I was second row inside in my heat. I learned pretty much immediately that all the stuff I did to my car to try and fix the problem I have of it not shifting in a second gear at wide open throttle did not help. So I have a lot more work to do. The thing puked a lot of trans fluid too, because I overfilled it slightly, hoping that would help, and it did not. Alex did pretty good in his heat race. As I said, he started outside front row, and he led a couple laps of it, but he went real high in turn 2 and got up in the soft stuff, slowed him down, and then kind of got pinched and ended up falling back to third, I think with like 2 to go, something like that. But third place, not too bad. My heat race kind of sucked. Everyone's pretty well aware of what happened there. I ended up shooting low when we went green and tried to make a run on the bottom. I ended up dropping my left tire over the berm between turns 1 and 2, and it was all over from there. I cut the wheel to the right when it happened, but it made no difference. The car just kept going straight. Ended up jumping the tractor tire, and pretty sure I got all four wheels off the ground when I hit that thing. It ripped the whole bottom half of my front bumper off. It knocked my toe in damn near an inch. The car handled like crap after that. I think Chad even mentioned the piece that came off my car and the video that they were recording for Flow. I did a couple more laps trying to keep the car in one piece, still running the bottom like an idiot, and hit another damn tractor tire in turn 4 after a few more laps. It was horrible. I was just trying to hold on to 4th place. I only just skimmed that tire. Still, stepping on my own Johnson by running that bottom line like that. The feature was pretty wild. There were lots of little wrecks and broken cars and just general chaos. Alex started 3rd row inside, and I started 6th row outside. When we went green, I think the 21 car had some sort of issue, and he ended up falling back, which bunched up the field. We went yellow for a car in the infield, and they ended up scoring us 1 lap, which put a single file for the next restart. That put Alex in 6th, and I was in 11th. We weren't bunched up at all when they went green, which kind of sucked. I think I had just passed the exit chute when the leader fired. There ended up being some craziness again in like turns 1 and 2 or something after the restart, which put us under yellow yet again. We lined back up and managed to get a couple more laps in before going yellow again due to another couple cars in the infield. By that point, Alex was 5th, and I had made it up to 9th. Another super spaced out restart, but it actually benefited Alex because he made it up to 4th by like turn 2, and he was running it up on the high side, and it was working for him. After the next lap, he was in 3rd, and Jacob Todd was in front of him, and then Cordell in the lead with like damn near a 2-second gap. About that point was when the 21 car ended up sneaking by Alex in turn 2 and then put like a car length gap on him after the next lap. Alex was chasing him down when I think something happened to that car again in turn 2 when Alex was up behind him, and Alex ended up hitting the back of his car. We're pretty sure when Alex hit the back of that car, the front 2 hood pins sheared and fell off. Pretty much immediately after that, Cordell ended up pulling into the infield with some sort of problem, which put Alex in 2nd, behind Jacob in 1st. And Landon and Corbin Dalton and Chevy Gibson were just all up on his tail. All 3 of them raced hard for several laps, just right in front of me, and it was pretty exciting to watch. We ended up catching up into some lap traffic, and things started to get a little bit hectic. And suddenly, in turn 2, Alex's hood just flew up. He was able to pull it down into the infield, and the safety workers were able to pull the hood off so that he could continue. And that put him about 2 cars behind me. This was with 2 laps to go. After that restart, I was in 5th place, and Alex was in 8th place. On the white flag lap, Alex came down the front stretch on the bottom side and went into turn 1 when a car that was right next to him came down on his right front corner and then spun, and it ended up catching the left rear corner of Alex's car, which ripped a pretty good gash in the side of it. I think that car had something going on with the left rear hub anyway, and that ended up finishing it off because when that car made it around to turn 4, that wheel flew completely off. A pretty decent little hole. It didn't look like that big of a hit, but it sliced it right open. Alex ended up finishing right behind me in 6th place. My race was pretty uneventful, aside from my car doing a new stupid thing. On corner exit, typically coming off of turn 4, and especially if I didn't have the RPM that I should and had bogged it a little bit, the car would just fall on its face. It would just bog and not do anything, even though I had the throttle planted to the floor. And then by about the flag stand, it would wake up and take off. And still haven't figured out what that deal is yet. Started doing that with about, I think, 5 laps to go in the feature. I think it's the fuel pump because I haven't looked at it in ages on this car. That I hadn't really had time, and it's not the good quantum pump that I like to run. It's a Walbro in a factory fuel bucket that has holes drilled in it because it doesn't have a Venturi. So I hope that's it. I'm gonna pull it all apart, see what it looks like inside. All in all, not the worst ending to the first race of the season. The cars are still together, and we were still in the top 10 with a fast field of cars. It was great to be back at the track, and it was a good reminder of why we put all this effort into the cars. It's sometimes hard to get out here and do all the work that needs to be done in the shop some nights, but once you're out there on the track and putting laps in, it's all worth it. Even if that means launching over tractor tires like a dickhead and breaking a bunch of stuff. The track concessions were on point. It's the best they've been yet. Food was good, and they had plenty of it for the bigger crowd. I really enjoyed how fast the program went. I wish we could get out of there by 11 o'clock every time. Starting at 5 o'clock was great. The payouts are awesome now, too. I think I got $105 for 5th place. Pretty awesome. Oh, so I tried a new thing. I put a camera on the fence by the entrance chute just to see what kind of cool footage we could get. And it's just kind of an experiment. So we'll put some of the footage from that camera up, and you can let me know what you think. If I need to put it in a different spot or change the angle or even try like a wide angle lens or something. But it was just some interesting footage to get from there. If I get another camera, maybe I can put it at the other end of the track. But it's just kind of neat footage to see. We are not racing until the 26th now, which will have the 305 wing sprints that night, and Crown Vics, and mods, and the Pro Stocks, and us. So that's going to be a full show. That'll be an exciting one. But that gives us roughly 2 weeks to get things ready. It's Tuesday night right now. It's taken me a while to get this update video compiled because we've been getting videos all edited and kind of struggling with the computer a little bit, rendering some of those in-car 360 videos. I've already got a game plan for what we need to do with these cars. I'm going to have to pull my drivetrain completely out and tear that transmission apart because the problem I'm having with that 1 to 2 shift is internal, and I'm going to have to change some gears. And I've got a good gear set to put in it. I cannot find rebuild parts for these transmissions. All I can do is find good usable parts and install them instead. Like I can't even find replacement synchros. So I've got this set here with a nice set of synchros. I'm gonna toss it in that transmission, hope it makes a difference. Got to figure out why the car's falling on its face, but I think I already know what that is. And Alex's car only needs just a few small things. When he ended up hitting that 21 car, it actually split his impact bar in half. Apparently, there's foam inside of it. I've never seen that. So we'll have to replace that impact bar. Maybe heat gun that dent out of it. We never clearanced his fender for these big tires. We just pulled them out real far, and everything seemed good. But we're definitely setting the fender down on the tire because all the paint's rubbed off. And I don't know if it was doing it the whole feature race or just after that last little bump that corner got on the white flag lap. But the tire's not really chewed up or nothing, so I'll have to figure that out. Clearance that out, and then obviously we'll fix this gash in the back corner. Alex hit the wall with this corner of his car last season, and we never did anything about it. But I think now we're going to tear into it, try to knock some dents out, and patch this giant hole up. Obviously, I've got to put a new bumper on my car. Add that to the pile of crap to do. Maybe I'll try one of those aftermarket bumpers that everyone likes to run. I just put another Camaro nose on it like everyone else has, but sure are a lot of them out there. Maybe there's something else that's different and interesting I can put on the front of this car. Make it stand out a little bit. One thing I wanted to point out real quick. The one remaining linchpin that we have left from Alex's hood pin set bent pretty good. And you can see these like carve marks on the side of it. That thing is beat. The set of hood pins on his car have been on for a couple seasons, and then they came off of another car before that. And they put in some work. We probably should have replaced them. If we would have had nicer ones on here, his hood probably would have stayed on and we would have had a better finish. Pins on my car, I actually have replaced with linch pins from Menards, and they're a bit beefier. That one actually has a little bit of wear marks on them. Maybe I'll replace this set too, but Alex's came from a cheapo Amazon set of hood pins, and there is a slight diameter difference between the two. So if you've got a set of these cheaper linch pins on your car for the hood pins, get yourself some nicer ones. This is also the first season that we have run gutted hoods. I used to actually just run a stock hood, and now they're lighter, but they're also quite floppy. And when you're racing down the track, you can actually see them bouncing around. And I have to imagine that puts a little extra force against those pins. So, for what it's worth, don't use cheap linch pins on your hood pins, or your hood's gonna fly off.